MMA and Quantic.Illusion. There we go. Illusion on the right side of your screen. MMA on the left here at Hot Import Nights. The game screen has begun to load. We're about to move into it, and here we go, guys. In the top right part of the map, in the yellow, from the team Quantic Gaming, it is Illusion. And in the lower right, in the red, from the team Slayers, coming all the way from Seoul, South Korea, it is Slayers MMA.
And MMA is up 1-0 now, and Illusion's actually decided to choose Entombed Valley, which is kind of an interesting setting for a TVT. It's a very large map. You have a very wide open space in the middle as well, and a lot of good opportunities to drop. This is a pretty natural pick for someone who plays like Pult style, really wants to throw in a lot of bio in there as well. And we'll see if Illusion's build kind of centers around that.
Well, Illusion can play a lot of styles. The one he kind of tends to default to is one that will actually work really well on this map. He likes to go for a Marine Tank quite a bit. And when you do something like that with Marine Tank Medevac, you can use the large open spaces behind the main base, behind the natural, and the third base as well to drop Marines there, do a lot of damage to the economy. And, oh, that's an interesting fact. I actually didn't know that. Illusion originally played Zerg before switching to Terran.
And we were actually watching him warm up before, and way before the event opened or anything like that. And he was actually using Zerg and playing at an incredibly high level. He was just leveling on his Grandmaster account.
Pretty good.
He was getting messages. You switched to Zerg, and of course he said, yeah. To every one of those.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something interesting, too. You actually see a lot of pro players playing their off race before matches. I asked Illusion why he does that, and he says, well, if you're playing your main race and then you lose like a ladder game or something before your match, it kind of tends to tilt you. You feel bad because you're like, oh, man, if I lost this random guy in ladder, how am I going to do in this match coming up here? So you actually see a lot of pro players playing their off races when they practice right before a big match.
And it looks like both players are going to opt to go after a barracks, then gas on pretty normal timings, 12 then 13 respectively. MMA going ahead and scouting cross positions first, and he is going to find his opponent. Illusion scouting down towards the bottom right. He'll find his opponent a little bit after that. Interesting to note, looks like MMA favors getting that 16th SCV before morphing in his orbital command, whereas Illusion did cut at 15.
Yeah, it's kind of a matter of preference. It doesn't really make a big difference economically. When they changed the build time of the barracks, it took away that really nice, timing where your barracks finishes exactly when you have enough for that orbital command after your 15th SCV. But not a big deal either way, but an interesting thing to note nonetheless. Illusion trying to get past that Marine. Is he going to get up the ramp? Barely getting up the ramp.
Yeah, barely is right. He actually stutter stepped to the side and almost missed his scout, but he does see everything of relevance.
Yeah.
Well, he would have, I don't know if he got close enough to see the second guess or know if that was coming up yet. It would have been really early right now, but still would have been important to know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he did either, but, just kind of seeing what he saw. He knows kind of the timings that his opponent is going for very early in the game. So no big deal there as well. Reactors going down actually for both players. So it looks like we actually do have a Reactored Hellion opening for both Illusion and MMA. Definitely a mirror match.
Now we'll see if either one ends up putting down just a tech lab right away, though, and doing something a little bit out of the ordinary. It looks like Hellion #1 coming up for MMA before that reactor does end up finishing up. He should be able to squeeze it out just as the reactor finishes out if he decides to actually switch those. Illusion going ahead and expanding, and that's sitting inside of his natural at the moment, not building that inside of his base.
Yeah.
And we actually do have a forward starport for MMA.
Yep, this is going to be for a medevac. MMA is going to go for that really popular Marine Hellion medevac opening. It can be very strong on Entombed Valley. You can elevate her into their natural expansion, or if you can just kind of break your way up their ramp, you can elevate her then into their main base. So this is a strong one-base push coming from Slayers MMA. Illusion doesn't really have anything out on the map. Oh, actually, he does. He scouts the starport. Look at that.
Yes, he does.
And so he's going to have all the information he could ever hope for in terms of seeing this coming. So, if he had a chance to respond, now is the time.
And looks like he's going to duck around the side with a Hellion. Curious to see what he does that. Well, okay, there we go. Now finally it breaks its rally point. So Illusion just finishing up his command center. MMA, though, of course, just producing a ton of units. Wants to make a pretty powerful attack. Sending his Hellions up to the top left-hand corner. No, actually just scouting all over the place. He just wants to get perfect information, and then he's going to be able to react to this pretty appropriately, start sending out those medevacs very, very soon.
Oh, look at this. Illusion actually gets into MMA's base with a Hellion. He's going to see everything, and that's only going to confirm what he was already thinking, that it is going to be that Marine Hellion opening from MMA. He sees, I believe he did see that command center.
Yes, he did.
Maybe he did. Okay, so he knows it's going to be pretty late. So if Illusion defends this push from MMA, he's going to have a nice economic lead. So this is a big deal here. Illusion has a nice concave with those Marines on top of the ramp, but here comes MMA.
And MMA,
the
almost
medevac.
throwing away that medevac down. Very low in health, but it actually does fall. So now MMA's position is a lot less secure. And Illusion pushing this back just a little bit.
Nice micro battle between both players, but in the end, Illusion barely coming out ahead, forcing back MMA. Man, killing off that medevac was so huge. No healing at all for those Marines of MMA, and Illusion's just going to push back to probably the Zelnaga Tower, take that position in the middle of the map, be able to see a little bit more that's going on. And wow, nice defense from Illusion. A little bit of miscontrol from MMA, actually, with that medevac, too.
And now Illusion is actually pulled ahead in workers. They're tied at the moment, but he's producing 2 at a time. There we go. Now he's ahead. And the command center is just finishing up for MMA, and he's got to turn an orbital command that into an orbital command in a second, so it's going to be even longer before he's able to take any real economic benefit from it. All the while, Illusion is going to be macroing, and he is moving ahead with a there was a Viking and actually a tech lab popping up on his factory. His opponent has already done that, though, started to move into that Marine tank phase.
Yep, that's right. A little bit later, Illusion going for Blue Flame right away, so we may see him go for mech play again. Oh, but he cancels it. He just canceled the upgrade. I wonder if he's going for a siege mode instead. He's deciding right now. He's wanting to make that choice. Do I go for Marine tank, or do I go for mech play? And it looks like it will be Marine tank, although... interesting. Okay, so he's getting a reactor on that starport. He's going to be able to make some Hellions there, getting stim as well. So yeah, will eventually be Marine tank, but for now he wants a little bit more mobile of an army, so he's going for that Hellion Marine composition instead early on.
And he is up by 5 workers now. We'll see, and reinvesting back into his infrastructure, but he can't lose a big engagement because while all this investing is going on, he's not making that many units. A couple of Hellions here, a Marine there, and his opponent's starting to power ahead with siege tanks. So
yeah, this is going to give MMA a little bit stronger of an army in the early part of the mid-game, but you can't count Illusion out at all. I mean, he's still in a great position economically. He was mining more efficiently off of those 2 bases before MMA was, so that does help a little bit. And the thing is, if Illusion is able to make a big amount of Marines and Hellions early on and can kind of get a good position on MMA's forces, he can take advantage of the fact that MMA is going to have a few less Marines to protect those siege tanks, kill MMA's army, then potentially do some damage here. So it's kind of a calculated risk being taken by each player, and we have to kind of wait and see how each one pans out.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to kind of see the results of this. I mean, MMA, a little more classic composition, is powering ahead with his upgrade as well. Combat shield's on the way now. Is he investing in more barracks? He is. So he's on the same infrastructure that his opponent is. Now, though, Illusion's kind of switched things up a bit. Now finally going into mass Marine production and going to build down the reactor for this eventual starport before he ever moves into tanks afterwards. So kind of what we've been seeing out of a lot of TVT players and just favoring super, super heavy Marine production.
And, you know, we see Illusion going up here checking for that 3rd base. He doesn't see it, so he does pull back with the Hellions. But, you know, we have seen players go just pure Marine medevac sometimes. And if on a big map like this you can get a good flank around your opponent, you can take advantage of that. And what are MMA's tanks doing right now? That is a bit dangerous. I think that was maybe a bit of a mis-rally for MMA, or misclick rather, to send those tanks across the map. Illusion might want to move out to try to take advantage of that. Thinking about it, but decides to turn around.
Yeah, I thought it may have been a bait too. I mean, because
certainly could be.
MMA's like, hey, you see these tanks? There's no units that are like 2 steps behind. You come out and get them, why don't you? And Illusion's not going to take that. Though we do have a 3rd command center coming up for both players, just being queued up for Illusion, or at least it was. Canceled now, maybe being constructed somewhere else, but we can see MMA's as well on the way.
Oh, Illusion, he needs to engage his force right now. The siege tank's getting a good position on the low ground. Here we go. Illusion needs to take out those siege tanks, and MMA caught a little bit out of position with those tanks.
Yeah, and he actually unsieged, so now not going to be able to take out those clumps of Marines, and does lose most of his attack force, actually all of it, so Illusion cleans it up.
No kidding.
But, of course, he's only sitting on 2 command centers. He's not got any siege tanks, so MMA will be able to assume somewhat of a defensive position, but he's got to watch out because Illusion now is ahead by 9 workers and about an additional 20 army supply.
Well, nice reaction by Illusion, too, to just immediately go for that force. If your opponent gets their tanks sieged up like that outside your base on the low ground, it becomes very, very difficult to engage with your Marine force. You really need your own tanks to do it at that point. So Illusion rushing down that ramp right away, taking out the tanks before they could really become a problem, and really gaining a nice lead because of it, too.
So now MMA is, what is he making at the moment? He's got his armory coming up. He's already researching 1-1, although not +1 armor, which I'm a little bit curious about. He could start that here. But just continuing to up the Marine count, not really supplementing with any tanks. He has 3 out at the moment, but not producing any additional at the moment. It looks like Illusion just going to try and power through the right-hand side. Oh, thinking about a big drop.
Yeah, he scans and he does see those tanks, so we'll see how aggressive he wants to be with this. This is a risky move by Illusion, and oh man, MMA more than ready for this with the Vikings and the Marines. Illusion is coming into a trap. He needs to turn around right now.
Yes, he does, as the rest of the forces are pulling back for MMA, and he does drop on the low ground, but he's going to lose. Well, the Viking at least, but it doesn't look like MMA wants to pursue against the medevacs.
That was very close. MMA had a lot of Marines in position to kill off those medevacs. It would have been unlikely if Illusion would have even been able to drop any Marines out of there before losing them. And of course, if you lose a medevac, you lose any Marines inside of it as well. So that was a close call for Illusion. Good reaction time again, turning around right when he saw it wasn't going to be safe.
And Illusion just starting his third base, but MMA's is already finished, so he could lift it over whenever he does feel secure.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's going to start taking out those rocks just so he can feel as secure as he wants to take it.
Yep, MMA is really in a great spot as well. He's going to be able to play very defensively with those siege tanks. Entombed Valley, because of the ramps going into your natural and your third base, and Illusion does scout that army there, but with the ramps going into it, it becomes very easy to just kind of sit at the top of those ramps with tanks and Marines and take 3 very quick, easily defended bases. Illusion, man, though, he looks like he wants to be so aggressive, but now is not the time.
No. Fortunately for him, these tanks weren't sieged up in the middle when he initially made his move. Otherwise, he would have lost a huge swath of Marines right here.
No kidding.
As it stands, though, he's going to have a very difficult time breaking this. As we can see, 7 tanks to just 1 from Illusion. And, of course, he's sitting on that all-important low ground, which is much harder to break up.
Yeah, now Illusion is making his 4th command center right now, so he needs to actually just pull back and get out of here. He's gonna go ahead and fight, losing his tank. Yeah, now making a run for it. What Illusion needs to do is take advantage of the fact that his army is much more mobile. Needs to take a quick 4th base. That's what we see him doing. There's the command center moving over to probably that protected base there. Yeah, he's breaking down the rocks right now so he can transfer some SCVs a little bit later. But, yeah, he needs to take advantage of the fact that MMA won't be quite as mobile with those siege tanks in his army. But MMA deciding to attack here, and this is pretty good timing. Can he get sieged up in time?
Yeah, it looks like he will. Yeah, so he's going to be able to take control of that all-important Zelnaga tower, and having the extra vision for those tanks means you don't have to have air cover for them to be able to use their complete range. Very, very important. And MMA actually going to really aggressively push up here inside of the range of his opponent.
Man,
but now that the tanks are there, Illusion losing so many units has to pull back.
Yeah, MMA attacking right now using the advantage that he has, but Illusion has way too many Marines. Whoa, MMA overextending a little bit, but with that amount of siege tanks, there's no way that Illusion can attack into that.
No, and MMA's playing this really, really well paced. With the exception of throwing away a few of those Marines, he's leapfrogging his takes forward very, very quickly and efficiently. And oh, Illusion just lost a ton of Marines.
Yep, and that's going to make it pretty easy for MMA to continue moving in. With these siege tanks, he has the advantage. It was 9-2. I think it's still a pretty good advantage right now. Yeah, it's still 8-2. MMA 7-1 now, so still maintaining that big siege tank advantage and gaining the supply lead now as well.
That's right. Illusion is up by 16 workers, but take that out of it, he's down by about 30 supply in army.
Yeah.
That's devastating to try and overcome at this stage of a TVT.
Yep, and now MMA can begin that slow death push across the map, attacking into that planetary fortress. Don't know how well that really is going to work out. Losing a lot of Marines there. Yeah, picking those up at the very end. And MMA thinking about taking a 4th base too.
Looks like he's just going to drop behind the planetary, but unfortunately losing those units as well. So Illusion trying to set himself up a little bit of a defensive position, and actually does draw a couple of MMA's units inside of his tank line.
Yep, that does help a little bit. Supply still even, but like you said, larger worker count for Illusion means he does have a smaller army. MMA in a great spot right now. His siege tanks are really well spread, and he is really hammering that planetary fortress.
Yeah, Illusion needs to pull a couple additional workers here. Looks like he's going to drop down to the left-hand side and try and drop directly on top of the tanks as well, but he can't get that close.
No, not with those Marines there. This drop to the 3rd base may do a little bit of damage. SCV's forced to respond here as well. And it looks like it's going to be cleaned up. Oh, losing the medevac too.
Yeah, and unfortunately this base did go down. The planetary fortress did fall. So Illusion, that's pretty much all of his worker lead right there, and it's not mining at the moment. So MMA is going to be just the same economy. He's got a better army at the moment and a better position. Illusion really needs to think on his feet here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he needs to just sit back and play defensive here. He can't really attack into what MMA has, at least not for a little bit. He's actually getting pretty close to the point where he can. Can he hold out until 3-3 and +2 for his tanks are done, though? That's the question here. MMA, does he have any siege tank upgrades at the moment?
Let me see.
I don't. Yeah, he does have +1. So the siege tanks for Illusion do a little bit more damage. Scouting Marine being sent out there by Illusion to get a glimpse of his opponent's army. And while he does have the attack upgrade for those tanks, he doesn't have the numbers that he needs. And here comes MMA.
Yeah, MMA is just going to try and go for it. And he does lose a lot of Marines up in the front to the tank line of Illusion, but once his own tank line is established, it kind of slaughters the amount of Marines that Illusion have. But Illusion is dropping at the same time down at the bottom left-hand corner. He's going to kill a lot of workers here.
Yeah, no kidding. MMA needing to respond. Illusion picking up right away. He's going for the main base now with this drop. And MMA doesn't really have a lot to defend here.
Yeah, very well timed. We'll see if MMA decides to go for it. At the same time, we see a few Marines running down into the natural as well.
Yeah, counterattacking is the best thing that Illusion can do right now. MMA forced to pull back. And look at this, Illusion pushing back Slayer's MMA.
We'll see here, though. MMA still does have a few tanks onto the right-hand side of this position. It looks like the medevac is going to get away, but none of the Marines did. And that was quite a few workers killed. Looks like 22 workers killed in total for Illusion, and he is up by 28. But, of course, he's down in supply, so he's still back by 35 supply in Army.
Yep, that's right. Still trying to find that perfect time to engage. He's got his Marines spread out really, really well, but MMA just has this near unbreakable siege tank line outside of Illusion's base. He's got him contained. Oh, but here comes Illusion. This is it. He needs to win right here with this. He needs to crush MMA's army.
And MMA actually had his Marines way to the back, so the Marines for Illusion were actually able to crash on through and do quite a bit of damage there.
Illusion pushing back MMA, but he has got so many reinforcements. A lot of SCVs in with that army as well. Illusion needs fighting units. He can't keep pushing with only workers and a decent amount of Marines. He needs a stronger army right now.
So he's still up by 17 workers. He's still down by about 20 some odd supply in terms of army, but he's trying to take it to the basement. MMA is just going to push on through. He obliterates his opponent's army. There's the rest of the medevacs going down.
Yeah, MMA lost a lot of Marines, but not enough. Pushing right back here, a back and forth TVT, but MMA still certainly having the advantage in army size and positioning so far.
Yeah, that's right. So Illusion now, it looks like he's just got to do something to try and come back. I mean, his drops before were pretty effective, but MMA's pretty ready for them now, and MMA's taking a fourth base as well, which you can be pretty assured is going to be very, very defensive.
It's going to be really tough to stop. Yeah, I mean, he's going to leave some siege tanks there as well, I'm sure. And, Illusion trying to take his fourth base at the same time. So this game is still far from over. Marine tank is anyone's game. I mean, at any point, either player can move into a position where they lose way too much. And Illusion responding to this here, but does he have enough? I don't know, man.
And MMA just has so much stuff there, and he's going to be able to power his way through the tanks. He dealt with the rest of the forces. Illusion's under 100 supply, losing the reinforcements as well, trying to take out the space down at the bottom left-hand corner. It looks like he will be able to get it. MMA trying to react. No, actually just going to give it up.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to. He has got a near unstoppable force right now coming into Illusion's third base. Illusion does not have much to defend with this at all. And we may see MMA take a 2-0 in this series.
Wow, and Illusion trying to drop right on top of the Marines. We're able to get back in time, so now he's down to just 80 supply. He's tied up on workers. His base is completely segregated from the rest of his army. Even if it's a planetary fortress, it's going to be very difficult to defend that.
Yeah, that siege tank advantage is so key in Terran versus Terran, and MMA has had it all game. He's been so careful about his positioning the entire time. And here we go, GG! And Illusion eliminated from the tournament. Slayer's MMA moving on to face the winner